Kennesaw State University cheerleaders are no longer allowed on the field during the national anthem. This after 5 of them decided to take a knee. However, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law and the SCLC have teamed up to put the brakes on the university and demand answers.
We definitely kneeled for equality. We kneeled to highlight social injustice and kneel to highlight police brutality and kneel in honor of those who unjustly lost their lives and could not kneel for themselves. I just ask people to ask, are they upset with the fact that we're taking a knee, or are they upset with the values that we're actually kneeling for?
Joining me now is Dorian Spence with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Dorian, so exactly what is the Lawyers Committee trying to do to help these students?
Well, we sent a letter to Kennesaw State University and the Board of Regents of Georgia letting them know that we have grave concerns about them impinging on the First Amendment free speech rights of these cheerleaders. I mean, what you have down there is the 3rd largest university in the Georgia university system, 21% African American. The population of the university has ballooned over the past decade. And you have local actors, a representative from the area, writing the president of the university and the local sheriff, basically saying that they want these cheerleaders off the field. And the president of the university complied. And we feel that this is an impingement on their free speech rights.
Now, for folks out there who don't know, isn't there a Supreme Court ruling?
Absolutely.
That
Yes, the Supreme Court ruling came down 47 years ago. It's a lawsuit called Tinker versus the City of Des Moines. And it says that students do not shed their free speech rights when they enter the schoolhouse gates. These are the schoolhouse gates. They are on the field of play, and they've been prevented from being on the field since September 30th. But the plot thickens, Roland. The sheriff called the president of the university, but the representative who called the president of the university is not just some backbench Republican from Georgia. We're a nonpartisan organization, but he's not just someone who sits in the back of the State House and votes on things every once in a while. He's the head of the Appropriations Committee for Higher Education in Georgia, Roland. So he's in charge of the purse strings for Kennesaw State University. This is direct intimidation against students, 5 black female women cheerleaders on the field of play who are exercising their rights, fighting for people who have been brutalized by the police across this country. But this isn't an isolated incident as well. We saw this in Bossier Parish, Louisiana, which is northwest Louisiana. We saw it in the University of Wisconsin school system as well. And we just want to let the people know that the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights is here for them, and we support all of these protests across the country.
You also have, and I'll pull up in a second, I saw the story yesterday, and I tweeted it out, a Division III football player who was kicked off of the team because he took a knee.
Absolutely.
Black quarterback.
My question to the country is this: when are we going to pivot this conversation from the protests and this quote-unquote disrespect for the national anthem to the issue that we're protesting against?
Oh, but they don't want to.
Absolutely, because it's a hard conversation.
And let me get this here. So, Shelley, go to my iPad, please. So a Fox News poll shows that there's been an increase over the past month of folks who support kneeling. 44% of registered voters consider it appropriate to kneel during the national anthem, which is up 3% from the same poll. A majority of those still say it's inappropriate to kneel, which is also down. Now, again, it's showing rising support for it. And this, because I think as people all of a sudden keep hearing this, they go, wait a minute, hold up. Because again, the average person has no clue about the Constitution.
Absolutely.
And so they think that, oh, it's all about the flag. No. The point of saying, well, our troops and you disrespect them because they fought for freedom, this is the very freedom they fought for. It's the first for a reason.
The flag does not only represent the military, it represents the citizens that they fight for and the ideals that America was founded on. Freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. And this is exactly the right that these cheerleaders are exercising, or they're exactly the right that they're exercising in the protests that they're supporting.
So the other thing I just want to emphasize here too is that narrative is so important, because one of the things that you actually see with all of these polls is that when you change the narrative from these are people who are just kneeling to disrespect the flag to these are people who are kneeling to protest injustice and racism and discrimination, all of a sudden those polls show that people say, well, wait a second, maybe like these are behaviors that I can support, right? This actually makes sense. When you also frame it and you hear about why they decided to take a knee, right? So these conversations with veterans who said it wasn't disrespectful to the flag, that this is actually a sign of respect.
And it was a veteran
right?
who was the one who suggested that he take a knee.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. All of a sudden people change. Right. And then too, I think this last point here, that it's really important that we think about, right, reframing this narrative and making sure that the narrative stays on what these protests were actually about from the beginning and what these people are trying to say.
Now, let me do this here. So, because I want to read this, because, and again, I did this a couple of weeks ago during a speech, and most people were like, well, I never heard that. So, we always hear these folks talk about the Declaration of Independence and our founding fathers, y'all's founding fathers. They weren't my founding fathers. So, here's what's interesting. So, this is what we always hear. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now, here's what I love the most. Because they then say that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. They was not talking about women, just so y'all know.
Or black men.
Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And this is what I love the most. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Yeah.
Now, it further goes on. It's 1,458 words. So if people go beyond truths to be self-evident, everybody can be created equal. No. They actually wrote, the reason we are declaring our independence is because this very government under the king simply was not doing what was right. So when we are fighting for our rights, what we're saying is this government is destructive to our happiness and our liberty.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry that I'm the reason they want slaves know how to read.
Right. I think you're right at the point about the narrative. When people talk about the actual issue, I think there's broad consensus on it, but I think the president has drawn this into a cultural war and away from the issue that it was, and now you see these people drawing these lines up here. But if you go back to the issue...
Because it is white power. Because it is white power.
Even when that was written, it wasn't written with...
Black men.
With us in mind,
Right.
to actually, they were writing in to protect themselves. So now that the finish line keeps being moved for people of color, even though we're in line with what our Constitution says, we're still at risk.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false.
You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.